Thank you for joining me this morning. I want to real quickly show you my two gardens here. These are strawberries, and there are rectangle 2x6s in tiers going there. I think 4 tiers, gradually getting smaller till you have a small one at the top. That's our strawberries, and they bore well this year. We have blueberries in here, and we built an enclosure by bending 1-inch PVC pipe, and then we put netting over it to keep the birds out. They were picking us clean, but we had a real good crop this year of blueberries. Picked them for a month, mid-June to mid-July. Here are our tomatoes, and some are doing better than others in this drought. Sweet 100s, and we have a variety of different tomatoes, large and small. The bell peppers are doing great, producing well. And this is zucchini in the middle here. And I want to point out our enclosure. This is hog wire, and we have to have it or the deer will just eat everything down to the ground. Yes, a deer could jump over this fence real easy, but they're lazy and they will just graze on whatever is handy and convenient for them to eat on, and they don't bother our garden, even though they could get to it. You may be wondering, what is this odd looking thing in the middle of the garden? Well, these are Asian persimmons. They'll get as large as oranges and be orange in color come this fall. Sometimes all the leaves will fall off the tree before the persimmons are ripe. You think, oh, persimmons, I had a bad experience with a persimmon. They're really astringent tasting and I had to spit it out. Well, don't eat them when they're not ripe, but when they're ripe, they are sweet as candy. This is the sweetest fruit. Now this one might be a little sunburnt and we might lose it, but otherwise it's doing well. Now, the branches were so heavy and laden down with fruit, they were laying on the ground. So I put buckets and barrels under it just to hold some of the lower limbs up. But there's a lot of weight on here. In June, I lost about half of the crop, but that was just, this tree knew it couldn't bear as much fruit as was on it. So it dropped half of it. Nothing to be alarmed about. And it's going to produce plenty. Look at all those Asian persimmons. Native persimmons are small, and these Asian persimmons are large and sweet and really, really good. Let me show you a redneck thing I fixed up. So we have an air conditioner here, and it was dropping water here. So redneck engineering, I fixed up a funnel under it and a hose. This is all stuff I had. I had the funnel, I had the hose clamp, I had the screws to attach it, and I had this old hose. And I ran it over here, and this is so whenever the air conditioner runs, it will water our flowers here. You don't see any flowers at the moment, but anyway, and this is spearmint. And so anyway, it's doing real well. Let me run over real quickly to show you the other garden. It's on the other side of our rock garden. You don't have to water the rocks, that's the good thing. But I do want to show you one thing in particular. Not everything in this garden is doing all that well. We do have cucumbers at these two corners, and they are doing well. And the Sweet 100 tomato is doing well, but most of the other is not doing that great here. Again, we have a hog wire fence to keep the deer out. So this spring, my wife said, well, I had tomato plants planted in these cages, and I had one die, and my wife said, well, I started yellow squash plants from seed, and I've got some extra. Do you want them? And I thought, well, okay. Oh, here's a bee right now who's pollinating these blossoms. This is my friend. You think, oh, bees are bad, they'll sting you. No, bees are good. They get inside these blossoms and take that pollen and share it with the other blossoms, and that's how you end up with big yellow squash like this. So anyway, I had a tomato plant in this cage. The tomato died. My wife gave me a little plant she started from seed, and I put it in this cage. Now, I've never grown in a cage before. I've had them like the zucchini squash you just saw, where they spread all over. Well, this time, I just put it in the cage. Well, it turned out great. I wanted to show you. This is a good idea you might want to try. So instead of running all over the ground like squash and cucumber do, it grew up inside this tomato cage, and it's well supported. Hello, bee. And it's well supported, and you can pick the fruit almost at eye level. I'm 6'1", and this plant is taller than me. I get a little shade this morning from the yellow squash plant. There's one here, and there was an aphid, a squash bug. I don't want that. Anyway, a squash here, 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 and maybe more. But, oh yeah, there's some on this other side. But I'm just real pleased with the way this is working, and we haven't had much problem with aphids, maybe because it's been up off the ground, but they will climb up there. Up, here's a couple. Gotta kill them. I don't want aphids on this. Anyway, I want to show you in case you want to try it. One other thing I might point out is, this is my wife's idea. She calls it a water ring. It's an old 5-gallon bucket. I cut the bottom off and I buried it. It used to be when we would water our tomatoes, the water would run all over the garden and the tomato plant wouldn't get much. So with the water ring, you put the garden hose right in there and the water stays right there. You can fill that up with water and the tomato plant will get a really good drink. So it's doing well, and our cucumbers are doing well. I'll have to check under the leaves and see. Some of our tomato plants are not doing that well. It's been in the hundreds many days this summer. So it's rough on a garden, but we try to water it. So we have a garden at home, 36 miles from here, 38 miles. My wife takes care of it, and I water these 2 gardens here and keep them alive. And we have a lot of bell pepper, tomato, we had onions. We've got 2 different kinds of squash. We've got strawberries and blueberries in the freezer, and my wife's making preserves. So anyway, we're feeding ourselves and enjoying it. We like gardening, and we're right out here just outside of Southwest Arkansas's Crater of Diamond State Park, and this is our diamond recovery plant, and it's not running right now. The electrician is wiring up a motor, a new motor I just bought for the rock crusher, and when it's going, we will run the plant tomorrow. But until then, I'm working with these plants, and I got to mow the yard too. But anyway, I just thought I'd show you in case this is an idea you wanted to try. I'd never heard of it before, just came across it kind of accidentally. Just stuck a yellow squash plant inside of a tomato cage with a water ring at the bottom. So I can water it well, and it's growing well and just doing great. So it's an idea I thought I'd pass along to you because it worked out fine for us. Thank you for joining me.